Well, good day, my friends. As you can see, we are in Memorial Park in Memphis, Tennessee. We're gonna meet up with some of my friends today and do some vlogging. We're gonna see some of Elvis history, some people related to the Elvis story here in the cemetery. So, Daze with Jordan the Lion and you all begins right now. We're over here at the grotto and we're meeting up with some vloggers. We got Atomic Hive over here. Oh, I love your shirt, man. Daniel Johnston. Come say hi and introduce yourself. You guys are in the vlog today.
Hi, I'm Leah and Mrs. Lynn. And if you watch our channel, you know we do lots of vlogs on, we love Elvis, we love pop culture, and most people get into the groove with us.
Nice. So yeah, we've been trying to do this for a couple of years. I haven't been here in a while, but I brought another guest, the spa guy.
Hey there, how are y'all?
Yeah, the man who needs a, in fact, as soon as we got out, he goes, here, come on, I got to show you where the guy that wrote Suspicious Minds got a new mausoleum. So
his mausoleum's right there.
Yeah, we're going to check that out right away.
Here too,
that's really cool.
Well, nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you too.
We've been watching you guys for 5, 6
both of
years.
you.
Oh, right on.
This is like so surreal to us.
Well, let's go have some fun. I was thinking today maybe hitting Sam Phillips and visiting Red West and George Klein.
Do it. Let's do it.
But let's go see that mausoleum you were talking about, Billy.
This is Mark James that wrote Suspicious Minds, and of course a lot of other stuff. Now, what's interesting is he died in Nashville. He lived in Nashville, but they put him here, and I think they did that because Elvis fans are going to see him here, you know. And but this is his mausoleum. It's just been erected.
That's an interesting thing, you know. When
that's Mark James.
When you think about it, it's like, do you want to be buried where a lot of people can easily come see you because they'll be visiting, or do you want to be somewhere totally secluded that you're the most famous person, they have to come find you?
Exactly. He decided to get right here by the grotto.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's a perfect place.
Yep.
Wow.
Gorgeous.
Yep. As you see right there, it says we can't go on together with Suspicious Minds.
So this is
Yep.
Yeah, he's got his song lyrics and the music on both sides.
He said, I gotta try and outdo Elvis.
Yep.
I'm hooked on a feeling,
Yep.
high on believing that you're in love with me. That's
You're a
awesome.
good crooner. No, you don't.
So I don't know what
And
that
it's
costs.
right by the grotto. I
Yeah,
mean, that's
it
the most
is.
popular spot. So
Yep.
You know, we've been here numerous times, and
I've never
It hasn't
seen
been
this.
here long.
Oh, okay.
okay.
It's been here I would say less than a year
Okay.
would be my guess.
wow.
Yeah, I was like, this. I mean, it's too big to kind of be overlooked by us.
Yeah.
Like, that's beautiful.
It is.
And I love
the
how
song lyrics.
he's got his initials right here.
Yep. His last name, I don't remember it.
Here we are.
And he played on Elvis stuff. At
Oh yeah, up top there's Donald Duck Dunn. Remember the Blues Brothers?
yeah.
The Blues Brothers Review. Who we want to see is Sam Phillips. I've visited him, but I've never shown it to my viewers because
it's unless you know how to find it, it's a little bit hard.
Yeah, we walked in a circle for a while. We found it.
well, like I said to you, Billy, when we came the first time, there was a funeral going on for a rapper. And so we were like, well, we better not go and disturb them vlogging while they're here to bereave. Well, here he is. Sam Phillips, the man who's responsible for Sun Records, all those great musicians, Elvis, Roy, Jerry Lee, Carl, Johnny Cash.
$1 Million Quartet.
Yeah. They all had interesting stories, you know, like Elvis's story was Sam didn't even want him at first. It was his receptionist who talked him into giving Elvis a try. Carl Perkins told his story of hearing Elvis on the radio and realizing, hey, there's a record label out there that's making the kind of music I want to make. And he went there. He said he played some songs for Sam, and his brother was singing them. He wasn't too impressed, and then Carl started singing them, and he said, well, boys, why don't you come back here tomorrow, Sam, if you can, or Carl, if you can stand still. Carl's like, what? And he said, well, you keep rocking back and forth while you're playing. He said, if we're going to record you, you're going to have to stand still. So next thing you know, they record Carl Perkins, then Blue Suede Shoes was the first $1 million selling song that they had, and they gave Carl a Cadillac for a gift, which was kind of interesting because Carl had basically almost had his entire career derailed by a car accident. That he was basically supposed to be on the Perry Como show and get his big break doing Blue Suede Shoes, and a driver ran into the back of a truck, killed the truck driver, put Carl and his brother into the hospital, and he sat there in a cast from the waist all the way up to his neck till he recovered. And he said, I watched Elvis Presley go out and record my song, Blue Suede Shoes, and have a hit with it. But he said, that was okay with me because I never thought I was supposed to be that guy. I was happy to have the career I had. I never thought I was supposed to be like Elvis. I wasn't good looking like Elvis. And Johnny Cash, when he got out of the Air Force, he also heard Elvis on the radio, and he said, that's the place for me. So he went and found Sam, and he played Sam some music, played some cover songs, and he said, Sam just kept saying, play me the original stuff. So he played him Hey Porter, and Sam said, bring those two boys that you're playing with here tomorrow, and let's record that thing. So thanks to Sam, all those guys. Jerry Lee Lewis was like the piano player for Sun. Next thing you know, he's Great Balls of Fire, Whole Lot of Shakin', Roy Orbison. Phenomenal career. Billy, what do you think about when you think of Sam Phillips?
Well, of course, an icon, a legend. But there was a couple of things that you said that I was going to say. Elvis recorded Blue Suede Shoes to help Carl because
I know,
he was in the hospital.
But from Carl's perspective, he said at the time, I didn't know that and Elvis didn't really want to do it, but they said it'll help Carl's sales and stuff.
And it did. But the family, by the way, Blue Suede Shoes, as far as I'm friends with Stan Perkins, which is Sam's son, or Stan's son,
you
or
actually
Carl's son.
You're in possession of Carl's Blue Suede Shoes guitar.
The Les Paul, 53 Les Paul that he wrote Blue Suede Shoes on. I have it for sale. But anyway,
Maybe you'll let us touch it.
What Stan told me was that Elvis, he didn't make the most money on Blue Suede Shoes from Elvis, believe it or not. There was a guy that recorded it in England, I don't recall his name, not somebody I was familiar with. That's where they made all their money. And the family still makes 5 figures a year on Carl's catalog.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Carl would be so happy with that
Yeah.
because he wrote 500 songs, but that was his only big number one that he had. And he even said himself, he left for Columbia because he felt like maybe Sun wasn't picking the best music for him.
Yeah.
And he said biggest mistake of his life because he said he realized later on once he was recording with Columbia, they didn't get rockabilly at all. They didn't even let him play guitar in his own records. And he said, you know, at least Sun, he got me. He knew what I was about, and he would have let me continue doing it. So.
And one other thing, you mentioned that he was gifted a Cadillac. Not exactly. So what happened was, there's a photo op of Sam and Carl's in front of Madison Cadillac. In fact, I know the guy that has the bell that you see in the photo. He got it before the building got torn down. And what ended up happening is when he got his next check, the price of the Cadillac was taken out of his royalty check.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't actually a gift.
They always sell it with that photo as that it was a
Well, it was
gift,
presented as a gift. He didn't know he was buying a Cadillac.
Yeah.
But that's Sam Phillips right there for you. You know.
Yeah. Now the cool thing
Sorry,
is,
Sam.
they at least say when you take the Sun Records tour that they always kind of end it by saying you can take a photo with the microphone because that was Sam's wish. So if you've never taken that tour, the Sun Studio tour, it is absolutely amazing. It's so worth it. I happen to know a guy that recorded there. What was that like?
It was a lot of fun. I got invited there with a friend of mine and his son. They went there to do some sessions. I played bass and played piano. on some sessions. They were surreal.
I was going to say, being the fan that you are, I mean, standing in those spots,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it had to be amazing.
Yeah, it was, and very nice people. The guy that you record with, the sound engineer, great guy, and you get the run of the place. By the way, you can go up to the museum, you can go over to the cafe, and I even went in the basement. I went a lot of other places.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, they probably don't know that.
Yeah, of course. Sam sold Elvis's contract, and that was kind of what really facilitated him growing his business. But man,
He invested in Holiday Inn.
Okay, that was where I was going to go. That's where he made his money with Kemmons Wilson, the owner of Holiday Inn. That's where he made his money. You're exactly right.
yeah. See, there you go.
Yeah.
4 Elvis minds working together.
That's it.
Rest in peace, Sam. Thank you for everything you did.
Much appreciated.
Another Memphis Mafia member that Billy's going to show us.
We mark another one off the list.
I remember it being pretty close to this.
Okay. All right, Billy, who is Richard Davis?
So Richard Davis was a Memphis Mafia member. I think the first place that Richard went with Elvis, and I'm going from memory, but I think it happened at the World's Fair from my memory, was the first time that he went with Elvis to film. And you could see Richard. In fact, there's photos of Richard and Elvis together, and they look very, very similar.
Ah,
So I think
He was a
Richard would be a
good-looking guy.
stand-in.
yeah, could have been a
Right.
stand-in.
And some stuff, yeah.
Says loving husband to Kim, devoted daddy to Brandon, Dylan, and
They
Madison.
had triplets.
TCB.
Yeah. And I know Kim, and the triplets, they all still live here in Memphis.
Nice.
2 boys and a girl.
So over here is the grave of George Klein. So George had an interesting history. He knew Elvis going back to 8th grade when they went to Humes together, Humes High School. Says, although the song is ended, the melody lingers on. George Klein, so they became friends when he was in high school, but then he became a DJ and a radio host and a TV show host and ended up doing movies with Elvis, became Memphis Mafia.
George Klein was, of course, went with Elvis to Humes High School. He was Jewish. And George went on to become very good friends with Elvis and ended up even being involved with Elvis radio and all that kind of stuff. Now, George was off and on with Elvis, but I would consider him Memphis Mafia for sure.
Yeah.
You know, and he was the president. I think he was the president of the senior class at Humes, that kind of stuff. So George was very popular in high school, where Elvis wasn't popular at all.
Yeah.
And you'll hear stories where they all kind of tried to make out like they were all friends in high school. I don't think that to be true. After you interview people that were there, I don't find that to be factual. In fact, I just told a story where Elvis's prom date, Regis Wilson, I interviewed her. She lives in Florida. And Regis told me that when they went to the Peabody in the ballroom, that they went in, sat down at the table, they drank a Coke, and they got up and left, and not one person spoke to Elvis. So if he had friends, someone would have spoken to him. She said literally not one person spoke to him.
Well, then the roles reverse because Elvis becomes the most popular man in the world.
That's right.
And he's getting George Klein in his movies. And
That's right.
George was a radio DJ
That's right.
and all that stuff. He had a pretty good career on his own.
He really did. And I actually filmed the funeral. So if you want to see the funeral, I was here. I got permission from his wife, Dara. And Priscilla pulled up right here and got out. They covered her with umbrellas and all kinds of things like that happened. It was quite a spectacle. But all that happened right here.
So one of the biggest downsides of sharing graves is that there's always weed eaters.
Yeah, and but the guy is right there. He was the one that drove the hearse,
No headstone yet, right?
and no headstone.
He drove Elvis's hearse?
He is the one that drove the hearse in the funeral.
Wow.
And man, his name is escaping me.
Probably to his
Original
funeral.
burial spot.
Yeah.
He drove
Yeah.
it in both areas. Every time that the hearse was transporting Elvis, he was the driver.
Wow.
So his name's Trent Webb. He passed away August 28th, 2024. He's buried right here. And I had actually a friend of mine that's actually been in some of my podcasts that's in the funeral business, reached out to Trent, found him, gave his information to me. I was emailing back and forth with Trent. Suddenly we quit getting emails. I was setting up to interview him and he died. So I never got it. Yep. I never got it.
That is so hard.
Yep. But I was communicating with him. you know, and then he quit communicating.
That's why we do this, to try and catch the story while we can, you know.
That's right.
Yes.
Yep, you're up
It
against
makes you so
time.
sad
Sadly,
when
I
you
never
miss
got
it.
that.
So right over here, we're at Red Westgrave, who was also in movies and member of the Memphis Mafia. You can see his says it's a wrap. So he's probably one of the more controversial members of the Memphis Mafia, wouldn't you say?
Red was with Elvis in high school, and you know, there's a story about Red protecting Elvis from bullies in high school, but there's also stories about Red bullying Elvis in high school. So there is that. But Red, what I love about Red, as opposed to the other cast of characters, if you will, Red was a movie star. He was in Roadhouse.
Yeah, that's the one I always think of.
He wrote some giant songs.
Yeah.
And so on his own, he did a lot of cool stuff outside of Elvis. Now, that doesn't mean that Elvis wasn't the catalyst for it.
Yeah.
You know, he played a sheriff in Walking Tall, the original movie with Joe Don Baker, who just passed away recently. And that was 1973, so he was still Elvis' bodyguard at that time, and he was in the movie. But he went on to star in Baba Black Sheep with Robert Conrad. In fact, I came to this funeral and met Robert Conrad's daughter came. So him and Robert Conrad were good enough friends that his daughter came to this.
Now, wasn't Red West the one that like Elvis got pissed and hit him one time, or punched him one time, and Red said something like, "Elvis, I'll let you have one." Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah. Now Elvis punched several of them. You know.
Yeah. I heard this story about him hitting Charlie.
He punched Charlie in the face. Yeah, Ginger told me that story.
Yeah, that was when I think Charlie kept talking about somebody was getting a free car, and he kept bringing it up. But
and she said she was riding with Kathy Westmoreland, one of the people that got the car, and they went out to test drive the car, pulled back up, and there was nobody standing outside except for Billy Smith. And when they got out, Billy said, you know, something's happened. So she went upstairs, and she said Charlie was sitting on Elvis's toilet, the one that eventually, you know, August the 16th, and his nose was broken. It was pushed over to the side.
Wow, he got a good one.
He got whacked. Yeah.
Now, Red was the one that wrote the book.
Yeah, and you know what? If you read the book, most of the people that are mad at Red West and Sonny and Dave Hebler never read the book.
Exactly.
Read it. It's
right. I think the anger comes from people. People feeling that Elvis felt betrayed, because I know that there was comments made. People said that Elvis said, like, you know what, they can write that, they got to support their family somehow, if that's how you know, that kind of thing.
You know,
so
well, they felt betrayed at the same time. So you know, nobody can be in that situation and know. You know, nobody here knows what they would do in that situation. All I could say is that Red was there for 20 years. Red and Elvis were like that, and when I think of Red West, I think of Elvis Presley. You know, it's just that simple.
Friends, I mean,
You can't tell part of the story. You gotta
That's
tell
right.
the
We
whole
can't start
story,
pushing
you know?
people out of the story because of something they did. Nobody bats 1,000. Nobody.
No,
Yeah.
You know,
everyone
so
that has friends.
No one is perfect.
You're gonna get into some kind
things
of
are
beef
going to
with that
happen.
friend,
You know, sadly, they never had a
They
chance
never
to
got to make
reconcile.
up.
But there's a phone call where Red was talking to Elvis.
Yeah, it was recorded.
And Elvis is kind of apologetic in there. You know?
Yeah.
And those guys regretted doing that.
Absolutely.
But you know, there's other people, and I won't mention any names, that wrote way worse stuff than they wrote, and they get a pass.
And they don't
Yeah.
say anything
And their
to them.
initials are my initials, by the way.
now BS, do you want to mention you saw Red kind of at the end? You were gonna talk to him.
I went to when Sonny's funeral was in the town that my business is in, and I went to that funeral. And I saw Red West, the first time I've ever seen him in person. I filmed him. In fact, if you go look at the Sonny West video of the funeral, you'll see Red as a pallbearer. I saw him. He was as close to me and you. I walked up, I was this close to him, and I started to talk to him, and I thought, now's not appropriate. And I knew that he was scheduled to be at Elvis Week. So I thought, I'm gonna meet him in Elvis Week, and it's gonna be so cool.
Right.
He didn't live till Elvis Week.
Isn't that crazy? The timing
Yeah.
between the two deaths,
Yeah.
though, even.
It was very, very close.
That was a bad year for the
Yeah,
Memphis
it was.
Mafia.
Just like whenever in 2023 when Lisa Marie passed, when she went to
2020.
2023 when she went to the Elvis Week, and then
Yeah, shortly thereafter.
that was
It
it.
was terrible.
But Red was a superstar on his own. If you look at his catalog of songs that he wrote, it's unbelievable the stuff he wrote. Yeah, a lot of Elvis songs, but a lot of other hits for other people as well.
Red doesn't get half the recognition he deserves.
That's fact.
Rest in peace, Red West. That is going to do it for our trip here today in Memphis.
And that's a wrap.
Yeah, that's a wrap, just like his headstone says. Thank you, Atomic Hive and Spa Guy, for being my guest today and hanging out. We'll see y'all next time. Have a great night and goodbye.